broke. We ain't got it. Don't spend no money. Ain't got no clothes. Ain't got no cars. Ain't got no hoes. We broke. Ladies and gentlemen,
you're now listening.
1, 2. Broke. Twimbos. We ain't got it.
Welcome back. It's your boy Phil Chard, aka Flynn Floss, the big boss, baby, aka Pizza P, aka Sexington Lovu, aka Filthy Phil, aka DJ Mkarad, aka Shamari Pitengero Dringi. And we're still out here in Johannesburg, and I managed to link up with a legend in the hip hop space, a man who's been doing a lot of things over 15 years now. I mean, he's one of the veterans. He's now a TV producer. He's been on radio. He's done it all, really. Just a stalwart in the media space, you might say. None other than the mighty ProVerb. How you doing, sir?
Wow. What an intro, man. I'm doing fantastic, sir. And how are you?
I'm great. So, as I was briefing you before, two broke Twimbos, it's not serious. Right. I mean, think of the job interview.
Yes.
The polar opposite of that.
Okay.
But we try to get down to the nitty gritty and like what makes this artist tick. Yeah, what makes you tick? How did you get to where you're at? And hopefully maybe one kid out there listening can find some inspiration and figure out, okay, this is the blueprint, let me try following
100%.
As far as a rapper in South Africa goes, you seem to be doing quite all from the outside in.
How do we define doing all right? In terms of what?
Let me put it this way. You haven't sold it.
Well, again, that's open to interpretation. If you mean I'm doing me to the core, I've stuck to my guns, I'm still spreading my message, then in that respect, yes, I would accept that. But if it were to be interpreted as success, then that's a whole other discussion.
I guess yes. Success is all objective.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, a lot of things are, if not everything.
But as you said, you've managed to stay true to yourself.
Yes.
You haven't sold out, but in a sense, you're selling out as in tickets. See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
Bars. Next song.
What?
Next song. You know.
Yes, sir. Yeah. No, look. For me, it was crucial and essential to one, define what it is I stand for in my content and in my work, and to remain consistent to that. And it will be a tragedy if I were to compromise that now, for the sake of trying to stay relevant or something.
Definitely. So let's take it all the way back. Let's take it back to Kimberley.
Yes. Yeah.
Where it all started.
053. Yes, sir.
How does a young Tebogo get involved with hip hop?
You know what? I was in boarding school, and hip hop was just kind of one of those outlets for us. We were just getting up to mischief, and we'd get cassette tapes in, which were vulgar and inappropriate and all the wrong things. So just as a part of that rebellious stage of, from how we behave, how we rocked our school uniform, the appeal was just that rebellion initially, But as I got to know and become more familiar with hip hop, so the appeal grew. And, before you knew it, you were hooked, man. And now you start sort of doing shows, competitions. Then, of course, you graduate. I came up to Jersey to study. But by then, the bug had long bitten me. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Okay. So what were you listening to back then in high school?
Wow, man. Look, everything from the Motherload, which was a South African compilation, to Cannabis, and Bone Thugs and Harmony, and just some of the 90s legends, your Busta Rhymeses, your Nas, that's anything we could get our hands on, really. Yeah.
Okay, so this is what, like mid to late 90s?
This is definitely, I reckon, from say the back end of the 90s. Yeah.
Okay. So when does that transition from consumer to artist begin? When do you start writing your own right?
So towards the end of my high school, we started sort of fiddling with rhymes a little bit, but it's only until you start seeing other youngsters. So for me, it was when I came to Joburg, there were competitions like Rap Activity Jam, where there were South African guys putting down some serious work. And then you can imagine my entire world opened up, man. I was like, I have to get in that space. I have to start doing that. And I started doing that. I started submitting, started entering competitions, started winning a few.
Okay.
Confidence sort of grew. And I suppose without realizing it, I became a recording artist.
Okay. So we consider you, or you might be classed as a lyricist.
Thank you.
Was that a conscious decision? Like, this is the type of rap I listen to, so I'm gonna do this, or had you always been that type of rapper?
Well, no, I think along the way, I realized what a powerful tool music in general is, and maybe hip hop more specifically. And so once I started listening to the kind of material that was evoking some sort of emotion and response from me, I then decided that I wanted to be the kind of MC that will touch lives in that way as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and just inspire minds.
All right. So you're competing, you're winning competitions.
Yeah.
Who you taking out in these competitions? Is there anyone notable that we might recognize today?
Well, not to suggest that I was kind of just killing everybody everywhere, but there were definite names who were doing the roots with me. You know. So, for instance, Zub's The Last Letter was an MC in my era and is still an MC. What I mean is we sort of came up along similar paths.
Yeah.
You know, so we met at a lot of these competitions, at your rap activity jams. In fact, how I got my first deal was while competing with Zubs. So he was already with an independent label called Outrageous Records, and he and I were going toe to toe. And, the owner of the label, Zeno, sort of picked me up during that competition with Zubs. But guys like H2O, we sort of came up in the same scene. There was guys like Obita who I used to compete with quite frequently. Okay. So there were definitely a few names of guys that were in the same sort of circuit as I was at the time. Okay,
so we could essentially say that was like the second class, so to speak, of hip hop heads in South Africa coming up together at the same time.
It was there was definitely, say, a generation or two before us. But I would even go as far as to say we were the third tier, third level of MCs in the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you finally get signed?
Well, through that, so I was on YFM Rap Activity Jam, going toe to toe with Zubs. Then a guy called Zeno, owner of Outrageous Records, literally said, "Yo, man, from now on, I'm telling everyone that you're rolling with Outrageous," and it was as simple as that. You know, back then, that's kind of all it was. You know, there was no literal signing of anything. It was as good as a handshake. You're rolling with us. And that was the end of the story.
No publishing splits, nothing.
None of that was discussed, you know. Look, to our detriment further down the line. But back then, that's all you needed to hear.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess at the time, you're a young kid. This is your dream.
Yeah, exactly. You're none the wiser. You didn't know what kind of questions to ask, what that entails, who owns what. All you know is, you now have a studio where you can go to frequently and lay down these bars.
Okay, but you just said to your detriment. So in retrospect,
in hindsight, obviously, I wish I knew a bit more. I would have maybe asked better questions. We would have designed the deal a little bit better. Look, not suggesting that I was shafted in any kind of way, but I think, for instance, now I don't own a lot of my catalog, because I didn't know better. I didn't even know that option was there. You know, so information wasn't quite as widely available as it is now. And I suppose we just didn't know. Ignorance was I suppose our biggest flaw.
Okay. So the moment you hit the studio, are you going straight into recording Book of Proverbs? Is there a demo? Is there a mixtape coming?
Not even. No, it was past demo stages, man. As soon as that happened, pretty much the next day, I started collecting beats, started scribbling, started spending so much time in the studio recording. Zeno was A&Ring it quite closely, so a lot of material was being sent back and rejected, and just,
Okay.
And to date, many consider my debut album, The Book of Proverb, a classic. But I think there was so much hunger, so much support around that project. It was a success.
All right. So in terms of like the collaborations, the production.
Yeah.
who are you working with? Who are you linking up with? Do you know some of these people, or Zeno pulling the strings behind the scenes?
No, I think by then I had sort of established quite a rapport with a lot of these guys, from coming up with them. So I knew a lot of these relationships. Obviously, a few Zeno was helping to broker the conversations, but it's generally guys we knew. You know what I mean? And also we had done a lot of shows, performances, appearances. So there was a community, around that time, and it was just about harnessing those relationships to help create this product.
Okay. So you left Kimberley.
Yeah.
Come to Joburg. You come to Joburg for school.
To study. Yeah.
Where were you studying?
I was studying at WITS Tech. I attempted IT.
So how'd you break it to the parents? That, hey, the school thing.
Yeah.
It's nice, but I'm not a rapper.
You know what? It's funny how I never thought of rap as a career.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I was always pursuing a career while I was rapping.
Okay.
It's just the rap became my career without me realizing. I guess it's true what they say about when something is a calling, because even though my mind was focused on IT and getting my academics in order, my heart was definitely in the stew.
Right.
And I suppose looking back at how my life panned out, you can make out which worked for me.
So did you leave school, or did you finish your degree?
Well, then I didn't quite complete IT, as I speak of in this one song, My Day Will Come.
Mm-hmm.
I pursued sound engineering. Mm-hmm. So my folks and I reached a compromise, and they said, look, we want you to study. You want to pursue this thing, so let's find a middle ground. And sound engineering was the thing at the time, which I did very well at.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't stop studying, but let's say I studied something that continued to set me on the path that music had already.
Okay.
Yeah.
So album drops.
Yes.
The
Book of
you're not getting some radio play.
Yes.
Performances here and there.
Yeah.
I think that was the time you were on Jam Alley, right? It was just after.
No, Jam Alley was well before that.
Well before that.
Jam Alley was still when I was doing the Roots, man. Jam Alley was when I was just competing, entering anything, anywhere where there was a mic, I wanted to enter.
Let me break it. The way I got introduced to you was back in the day. I don't know if the kids listening remember this, but there's a thing called VCRs.
Right.
So I was in Zim at the time. I was in school. So I had a cousin that was based here.
Yeah.
So he'd literally tape stuff for us on DSTV and SABC.
Yeah.
Then when he'd come for the holidays, he's like, guys, you guys got to see this. You guys got to see this. You got to see this.
Yeah.
So that's how like he'd record like a live when Tim was still hosting it.
Yes.
And then there was Jam Alley. And then we're like, there's this dude rapping.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, he came with a cassette, Book of ProVerb.
Right.
And that's how we first got introduced to you. So to me, in my mind, I always associate that freestyle with the debut. Because that's how I first got introduced to you.
By the time I did that freestyle, that was in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the year 2000. Because I came to Josie in 99.
Okay, so you're fresh.
I was fresh off the bus from Kimberley, hungry, just ready to eat MCs. I came up as a battle MC, by the way.
All right.
So back then, I was just trying to battle any and everybody, man, who had baggy jeans. If you had baggy jeans, you walked with a limp, you must be an MC.
That was the uniform.
That was the uniform, brother. That was the dead giveaway. So I did a lot of those kind of things. But remember, my album only came out in 2005. So there's a big margin between when that happened and when the album came out. Okay.
So after the album drops, when do you start realizing that, wait, I might be onto something here? Like, does the money ever get to a point where you're like, yo, I can actually live off this?
Well, look, everything for me happened concurrently, because at that stage I had then made the decision that I'm going to be an entertainer. So around about that same time, I graduated from sound engineering. So I started working on radio as a technical producer for DJ Fresh. And in the same year, maybe just a year or two before that, 2003, 2004, I got my first TV stint hosting a hip-hop segment called Nasty on Channel O.
Yes, I remember that.
So everything was beginning to happen at the same time. So radio was taking off, the TV stuff was taking off, the music stuff, the shows and all that. So it's almost like concurrently my entertainment career began to take off and flourish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at that point,
Yeah.
when do you decide? Okay, it's time to go record the second album.
Nah, man. Those days, we never stopped recording.
So
there was no
You
period.
just have a body of work built
There was
up.
no period between the first album and the second album where I was not in the studio.
Okay.
So I was recording constantly. As soon as you had a collection of works that constituted an album, but then I engaged a major label at the time, which was Gallo Records,
Okay.
and I got my second deal, and the second album manuscript then came out with Gallo Records.
All right. So now you have a better understanding of what you need to do in the industry in terms of your deal.
Exactly.
money's
At this
supposed to go.
stage, I have a better understanding, still not knowing all I needed to know. But I definitely had a contract this time around in place. I definitely had somebody look at it and read it and check for any loopholes, and with what we had at the time and the resources to our disposal, we did the best we could with that deal.
All right. So Zeno only signed you to one album deal.
Well, you see, because it was kind of a handshake situation, there were some loopholes which we were able to use to then move on to the next deal. But I still have only respect for Zeno, and we still have a great relationship to date.
Okay. Dope.
Yeah.
So manuscript drops.
The manuscript drops. The game changes. I'm with a major label. They put out a DVD from the launch. I'm promoting it with other dudes in the stable. I'm introduced to the concept of doing promotional shows. We tour in the country promoting the album. We're shooting music videos. We got budgets this time. You know what I mean? So it was definitely a gear change from the first album.
Who was on Gallo back then? This is like 2006, 2007, right?
This is around about 2006, 2007.
Who was on Gallo as a hip hop act back then?
I think Squatter Camp was just concluding their deal. I think Kato had a deal there. Pro Kid was with Gallo Records. Mr. Salvin was with Gallo Records. That's at least as far as the hip hop wing was concerned.
All right, dope. That's pretty good company, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty good company. All right. At this point, do you see your career? Do you have any goals for your career, rather? Like, you say, okay, I've reached this point. I want to get to this point. Or are you just enjoying the ride?
You know what? I'm going to be honest in that I was still a youngster, I think. So my state of mind was just enjoying the ride, enjoying the shows, enjoying the lifestyle. I think by then I had my first little flat and my first car. You know what I mean? I was just a youngster trying to not only get in, but stay in, make a name for myself. Everything else was beginning to also just solidify, the TV stuff, the radio stuff. But I wasn't, I hadn't quite locked in my business acumen as yet. And so I didn't have a plan beyond that at the time.
Okay.
At the time, it was just trying to be as nice as you can, take out as many other MCs as you possibly can, battle as many dudes as you can, build up the stripes, So I don't think I sort of thought beyond that. But certainly after that, I definitely began to grow up. And I began positioning myself accordingly, making the right kind of moves. And, it all starts in the mind. And I think the game changed after that, at least for me.
How so?
Well, then I started, taking more ownership in my business, in my career, trying to modify these contracts now, negotiate things a little bit, put in your terms and conditions, make some demands, some changes. I got a management team. I was managed by a guy called Baxter at the time, putting some shows together, not just waiting for bookings. Same with the radio front. I left YFM. I went to a national platform. I was on Metro FM, both as a technical producer. Also started pursuing the online space as well. Just those kind of subtle moves. In that time I did Survivor on Mnet, so started repositioning the brand on the TV front as well. And then by the time I released the fourth album, which was Rite of Passage, the brand had begun to grow. And, I was more of a businessman then. I got some production credits and those kind of things. So I was just there was a subtle shift in mindset.
Well, obviously, I'm going to try to focus on the music.
Of
but
course.
let's take a step back.
Yeah.
Because as you just said, you are very accomplished outside of music.
Sure.
You're studying sound engineering, so
Yeah.
the fit on radio makes sense. How did the stuff with TV happen? Did someone just come up to you and be like, "Yo, we've got a hip hop show. You're a rapper. You seem like you can talk well. Here's a show."
It was almost as seamless as that.
Mhm.
Because I was definitely invited to audition for it because I was a rapper.
Mm-hmm.
So because I was a rapper, there was a hip hop segment they were looking for, but they invited a whole bunch of us. But I had to audition for it, got the short list. I remember trying to organize a flight from Cape Town to make the second call, which I'm glad I did because then I got the gig.
All right. I'm trying to get the timelines because I remember there was a time when Mischief did Nasty.
Yes.
And then there was also a time where Lungster did. So you were the first.
No, I took it after Mischief. Mischief and Fat Joe and Nat Crew, they started Channel O.
Yeah, exactly.
We are the generation that took after them. Myself, Lungster, Nontle.
Oh, okay.
We are that generation, that crop that took after them.
Okay. I don't remember before Mischief because we didn't have DSTV back then.
Mischief kicked it off, son. You caught it from day one.
Yeah. We remember that. that. We all used to tune in. It was a very proud moment for us as I was like,
yeah. No, Mischief is a legend, man, and may he rest in peace.
Indeed. So there's that Nasty. So you're putting in your work and you're getting more accomplished. You're getting more comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Are you then saying like, okay, guys, I'm already on this platform. Why don't I expand my horizons?
Absolutely. That's definitely when that thinking was now kicking in. That's when I was now making purposeful moves and making decisions, and not just opportunities stumbling on, but rather creating those opportunities. So I started repositioning the brand, really growing it, trying to broaden the appeal who I speak to. So I was expanding the platforms. So in other words, I went from YFM, which is a regional radio station, to a national platform. Same thing with the a TV show. Nasty was niche market, and to reposition it, I went to do a Survivor, which was on a bigger platform, bigger channel,
primetime slot.
Absolutely. And in 2010, I went and auditioned for SA Idols, which I got and have been doing since then. But even with that, then bought into the production company, which I now co-own, and I'm co-executive producer, not just a presenter. And same thing with the music front. I took more ownership of it, went from being a signed artist to now operating as a business. Now the major label is now signed to me, so to speak. And I just have a distribution deal, and I operate as ProVerb Music Productions.
All right, dope. I think you're bearing the lead because what you've described is you've attained a certain level of success. And as someone who's interviewed a few artists across the continent, once they reach a certain level of success, they even out. Like I've done what I wanted to do. I'm happy. This is where I want to go. I don't want to go anywhere above that. But you seem to have constantly pursued more and actively pursued more. Where does that drive come from?
100%.
What's pushing you to always go for more?
Man, you know what? The constant pursuit of the level beyond the next is because we know it exists. There's others before us who have achieved so much more with so much less. So for me, constantly trying to reach that level and then the level beyond it is an inherent hunger, I guess. And I reckon it's inspired by knowing the possibilities. The fact that we started with 0 and we're able to get to this particular point says we can go even further. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose it's just trying to achieve that.
Okay.
Yeah. And just from a legacy point of view, man, to say, you know what, you came, you rapped, and then what?
Yeah, I get that.
So it's that then what that I'm maybe trying to answer.
But
for myself,
a lot of people don't think beyond that. They're like, I've rapped. I'm a damn good rapper. That's why I want to be remembered as a damn good rapper. I don't care about being on TV and hosting because that's not my lane. I don't care about being on radio. That's not my thing. But somehow you're pushing and you're succeeding at it, which is also a testament. Because how do you find the hours in the day to do all this stuff?
Well, look, man, I don't want to claim to be any superhuman or above anybody else because I think we all have the capacity to achieve more than we think we can. However, some can choose to rather pick a craft or a field, hone in on that. I certainly like to diversify my portfolio. I think what I've learned over the years, and also from watching a lot of people I used to look up to, I've learned that those who thrive and make a success out of their life and enjoy longevity are those that are able to, to broaden their horizon. So I'm constantly, I suppose, searching for that next thing. I mean, just this morning alone, I had a meeting with a guy about like a petroleum company that I'm looking at buying into. You see, now that's got nothing to do with entertainment. But I think, my brain has gotten accustomed to thinking beyond what's already on the table. So you bring this to the table and you're like, okay, now it needs some gravy. Now it needs some meat. Now it needs some potatoes. Now it needs, you can't have rice every single day.
All right, okay.
You know.
Okay. All right, okay. So things are definitely taking off now. You've got your production company.
Yeah.
You're on Survivor.
Yeah.
You're about to get onto Idols.
Yes. I'm on my 4th album at this stage.
4th album, yeah.
Yeah.
This is before Red Tape.
This is there's still another one before Red Tape. Called so it's Book of ProVerb manuscript. Right the passage. Forthright.
Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah.
So where, like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, a lot of people use rap as a platform to do something.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure TV pays a lot better than rapping.
Well, depending on how you're doing it, I suppose, or how your business model is structured. But sure,
you guys just
we can argue that one.
ProVerb is just humble.
We can argue. That's a debatable one.
But you're able to pay your child school fees. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So you're just coming back into hip hop just for the straight love of hip hop. Is that the only thing that's keeping you in the game, or is there something else driving you to make music and continue to make music, even though you've got all these other businesses popping off?
You know something? Hip hop isn't one of my hustles. Hip hop is who I am, man.
Okay.
You know what I mean? This isn't I'm past doing something because I have something to prove, or because I've got a checklist I'm trying to tick off or whatever. It's got nothing to do with those things. There's a fulfillment that I get from hip hop that nothing else gives me. And purely for that reason, among obviously trying to spread a particular message and leave a legacy of some sort. I'm also just driven by that need to just fulfill this passion that I have.
Right.
And hip hop is definitely one of the avenues with which I'm able to, to make strides towards fulfilling my passion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I respect that. I definitely respect.
Look,
that.
I want to say something else, but at the risk of sounding cocky,
dude, no one listens to this. Don't worry.
At the risk of sounding cocky, I rap because I'm nice.
Spit it, son.
Full stop.
All right. Okay.
Okay. If I didn't feel like I had any kind of value to bring, I would definitely consider hanging up the mic.
Okay. Right. That being said, has there ever been a time where you've listened to some of these new cats throughout your career?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this dude might take me. Oh, I need to hit the studio and sharpen my sword because this dude is coming hard.
I've definitely, and I continue to hear cats that I think are nice and are pushing the envelope. But I think where my approach differs from the way you posing the question is I'm not shook by it, but I'm excited by it and maybe inspired by it, as opposed to being afraid. No.
So basically what you're saying is you're not threatened by any of these rappers.
No. I'm excited by the prospect of a new generation that's able to up the bar. But that only inspires me to get back in the booth and raise it even further. And that should continue. So the next guy should raise it. Then the next guy should raise it. But then you want to get back in and raise it even further, and so on and so on.
Okay.
But not, look, if you're going to cower at somebody nicer, then you're in the wrong business.
I respect that. So let's get on to the Red Tape.
Yes, sir.
That was
well, I wanna mention something significant with Forthright, if I may. Forthright will always, in my mind, be one of my ultimate faves. In fact, there's a copy if you don't have one.
You just gave me a copy.
Forthright.
No, I do, but this one needs to be signed.
Gladly, man. Gladly. Forthright for me is significant because it's the first time, you know,
the ProVerb music logo.
that I took complete ownership and 100% ownership of my music.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was a significant milestone personally.
Yeah.
You know, because up until that point, I didn't own any of it. You know, it had all been labels and deals and things, which was all good and well. Because I think without that experience, I wouldn't have known what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so now I approach everything this way. You know, now I operate as a business with everything I do. Everything I do, there must be a degree of ownership. I refuse to build somebody else's empire. You know, so I do not approach anything with an employee mentality. I have to own, even if it's a piece, a share, a cut, a percentage, anything. There has to be a degree of ownership. I have to build my own legacy. So from my music to my TV stuff to the radio stuff, anything that I'm a part of, there has to be a degree of ownership.
Okay. Obviously, you've been on primetime TV literally for going on 5 years now straight.
Sure.
From Survivor to Idols, because those literally had similar time slots.
100%. Yeah.
So you're in front of South Africa.
Yeah.
The majority of South Africa. What changes now? What changes from being a rapper who has a spot on Nasty on Channel O to being on primetime TV? How do people change? How does the business change? Like, do you notice these things?
Of course. Growth.
Ah.
I am no way can you think I'm the same person I was in 2005 when my first album came out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a decade later. So from the way we behave, the way we talk, think, our perspectives, point of views, everything has changed. And so the business model has to change as well, including the content. There's no way I'm speaking about the same things I was back in 2005. So everything has evolved and has changed. So sure, when you see me host Miss South Africa or SA Idols or some sort of national platform, you better believe I am approaching it as a grown-up. And I do not expect the market that I was speaking to in 2005 to have remained the same age. So you also can't relate to me in the same way either. Then you've stayed there.
Yeah.
We need to evolve and move and just inspire each other on a different level.
Definitely. That also being said,
yeah,
when you Forthright, Red Tape, even Rite of Passage, those are dropped like as you were really becoming like a household name.
Right.
How does the response change? Does the fact that you're now so well known help you boost your sales? Does it help you get more shows? Does it help you sell out bigger venues?
Not necessarily, because you see the TV has a wider reach and a wider platform. But one cannot assume that that's the same market that subscribes to your music. What is an interesting challenge and a position is, you know, conditioning the two markets. So in other words, making your hip hop audience aware that you're on TV, making your TV audience aware that you rap as well. So I don't consciously try and merge those markets because I appreciate that, you know, you speak into different markets completely, but I also do acknowledge the spillover opportunity, and I take advantage of that as well. So in other words, because now I'm on a platform like SA Idols, I'm obviously inclined to get more corporate bookings, you know. So at the corporate bookings, they'll often say you should perform. Then there's an opportunity to condition that audience to your music and your sound.
I dope.
Yeah.
Well, sadly, we're a little pressed for time. I got a little lost. Thanks, Google. I'll show you. I don't understand how I did it. But yeah, so we haven't really touched on the deeper issues here. But I think we have to schedule like another interview. A few. So we can really cover like the music, the videos, working with Yams, Double HP, Amu. Yeah. That's the stuff like the real hip hop.
The meat. Yes, sir.
Want to get down to. But this is also a great tale in basically someone who had ambition and drive.
Absolutely.
And how to approach your career professionally.
Yes, sir.
That's something I've always admired and something I respect that you do.
Thank you, sir.
And also, obviously, we've noticed the weight loss. That was ridiculous, though.
Sure, but you know what? It's all a part of that thinking, man. If you
building
start,
the brand.
You know what? Not only that, man, but just part of growing up. If you're growing up, your priorities change. You start thinking about things differently. You know, your health is now an issue. If I'm to enjoy longevity, I have to be around to achieve it. You know what I mean? And if I'm unhealthy, I'm already reducing my chances. You know what I mean? So it not only lends itself to your brand, but just from it speaks more to how you think as a grown up.
Okay. All right. So,
You know?
like during that weight loss, what type of workouts were you doing?
Nah, just a change of lifestyle.
Oh,
You
okay.
know? So my eating habits have perhaps changed. You know, my social habits have maybe tweaked quite a bit as well.
Okay.
My lifestyle habits, you know, things I do for fun are maybe different now. You know, I'd say I've summoned to Kilimanjaro twice, for instance. That for me, not only did it have a philanthropic angle, but it's also like a lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like let's go hiking. Let's go. I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's a lifestyle thing. I've definitely changed my lifestyle.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's also something I wanted to touch on because I remember seeing that. I was like, what?
What's going on? Yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
I don't understand. Obviously, you're more driven than me because I can't think of trying to climb those altitudes in that cold.
But I always ask myself this question. If there's a particular area in your life that you can, focus on blindly, man, and not be distracted, and you can focus on this, how come we cannot apply that same level of focus to all the aspects of our life? You know, how come somebody will say, yo, man, say a producer, he's nice on the beats, man. His count is on point, his clicks, everything is clean, it's all neatly arranged, and his kicks and his snares and his sounds and his EQs and his sound effects and all that, right? But then the studio is like a mess. Do you know what I mean? It stinks, he hasn't washed, he hasn't. And my point is, how come you're able to apply that discipline and such meticulous attention to that aspect, but not apply it across to your life?
Yeah.
You know? So that's part of the way I think, man, which is why if I could do some things over, I've got plenty that I would change, you know? I think I squandered a lot of opportunities. I hate the fact that I speak about my dropouts. I hate that. That doesn't bring me any kind of pride and joy. Because if I claim to be as driven as I am, how come I didn't apply it across? You know?
Yeah.
It's one thing to drop nice bars, but if you're dropping bars but failing in the afternoon, then who cares about your bars, man? Be consistent, you know?
Okay.
Be nice across. So part of me addressing my health, and it's a continuous work in progress, speaks to just that whole 360 focus to say, you know what, man? You cannot be driven only in one aspect of your life and be inconsistent with the rest.
Okay. Wow. I'm just like, okay.
What do you think?
Hey. I don't know. I don't think we're the same, eh?
You know what I mean? Feel to feel. Come on, yo.
No, I can definitely respect and understand that.
Yeah.
I can apply some of that to my life.
Yes.
But I know that a lot of people like putting in 10,000 hours for one thing is challenging enough.
Yes.
Putting 10,000 hours to multiple things at the same time, that's asking a lot. A lot of people are wired that way.
Sure.
So it's definitely something to admire and something to respect that you're able to do it that way. And that's what lends itself to the legend of ProVerb.
I think we do that, involuntarily anyway. And I think the only challenge is to conscientize that effort. You know what I mean? So in other words, there's already things that you've applied your 10,000 hours to that you maybe don't think about. As far as you're concerned, it's just part of daily life.
Yeah.
But if you conscientize that feeling and you conscientize that effort and you literally cut, copy, and paste onto all the other aspects of your life, I reckon there's no reason why we shouldn't flourish in every single space.
Definitely. There should be no reason, but there are people that don't. Perfect example, like you're on social media. I'm sure once in a while there's a stupid comment in your mentions and you're just like, but really, guy.
Yeah.
But really. But at the same point, that person, the amount of time it took them to type whatever stupid question they asked, they could literally go to Google and ask Google that same question for free.
Exactly.
But they choose to display their ignorance rather than educate themselves.
Yeah. Or they'll just bastardize a comment you made. So you'll make a comment, then you'll be like, oh, so what are you saying? You're like, that's not what I'm saying.
That's my point.
Yeah.
There are people that would rather do that because it's easier.
Yeah.
It's much easier to do that than to put the work.
Sure.
So that's why I'm saying, like, the fact that you're driven enough to put the work in continuously
Yes, sir.
is a testament
And
to
hey,
your work
look,
ethic.
man, I have more failures than successes in a lot of things, But if we learned anything from Michael Jordan, man, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Nah, that's true.
You know.
All right, so I think at this point, we can cut the interview short. I know you got to rush to another meeting, and then hopefully next time I'm back down, we can come in again.
Get into the meat, man.
Oh yeah, by the way, there's something I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
I saw you tweeting a few weeks ago. Is there a Red Tape documentary dropping?
Not a documentary. There's a DVD.
DVD.
So last year, 2015, I celebrated 10 years of the Book of ProVerb, and also launched my 5th album, The Red Tape. So it was all documented, and I'm going to release it as in a form of a DVD.
I remember. I was so angry at that, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you can now
Relive the moment.
relive it in DVD form.
Had Selwyn moved to South Africa, or you're still? Australia, or is he still here?
No, Salvin is very much based in South Africa.
There's some. Okay.
I don't think he's ever moved to Australia.
I once got a weird press release that Selwyn
Nah,
is
Salvin is my
Australia.
dude, man. I'd definitely be the first to know if you were to move to Australia.
But it was good seeing him on stage again because I remember seeing the highlights.
Yes.
And my photographer was there. And it was just good. It was good to relive those moments.
Oh man, it was magic, yo.
That was dope.
Yes.
So, the DVD is dropping. Where is it going to be available?
DVD, I'm hoping to make it available online, physical distribution as well. But there's no competing with the online reach.
All right, great.
Yeah.
And finally, you just hopped on a track with these young whippersnappers.
I did.
And you marked them.
No.
No, not them per se, but you were throwing shots at people.
I wasn't throwing shots at nobody. I was speaking my truth.
You were asking, like, what happened to rap, man?
I was speaking my truth.
About guys mumbling choruses and stuff. And, I'm sure some rappers were hearing that with chest pains, like,
Look, if the shoe fits. Me, I'm speaking my truth.
So tell us about that. Did Switch just hit you up and say, yo, Verb, I've got this song and
Switch and I met, Switch I've known for years, but at one particular event, I think he dropped it in my ear. Then it was literally that we locked in a date. He sent me a beat. At the time, I hadn't even connected the two conversations. Like I wasn't sure what he was sending me the beat for. And I just said, this beat is nice. Then he's like, can you do this day? And I said, I guess I can. So because Switch is my dude, I didn't ask too many questions. It's only in studio that day. Then I'm like, what are we doing here, yo? And he's like, no, we jumping on this joint. It's you and these fellas. This is the concept. And I literally sat and maybe for an hour scribbled.
Okay.
And then the next, say, 20 minutes, laid it down, made my contribution. And the other dudes weren't there on the day. I only heard Shane Eagle's verse. He had laid it down first. Then the next time I heard the song was when the rest of us were on it.
I know.
Yeah.
It's definitely.
Which is not my favorite way of recording, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like us all. I like everybody to hear everybody.
And feel off the vibe. And so it becomes a competition.
Just so not a competition, but just so I know, are we going content? Are we dropping punches? Are we doing flows? What are we doing? But I was very happy with my contribution and I wouldn't change it because when he told me, when I heard the hook saying what happened to rap, I said, okay, I'm not doing punchlines. I'm not doing anything. I'm genuinely plugging into that and asking what happened to rap, and I'm taking my stance on it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah.
Definitely. I would respect that.
Yeah. Then when I heard the other dudes' verse, I'm like, oh, Cats is doing punches. Damn, I could have done punches then, or whatever. You know what I mean?
All right.
But again, I was doing me, and I'm happy with my. I think the song came out nice, man. I think it comes out at a nice time.
Yeah.
And it's sparking a lot of dialogue, which I think
definitely.
is dope.
Yeah, I think Switch is definitely on a roll. Like he's dropped a lot of dope hip hop tracks.
Yeah.
So I think at that juncture, let's end. Where can our fans get hold of you? Where can
I'm
they
on
buy
all
your
the
music?
platforms. The website is currently under reconstruction, but it will be up soon. proverbmusic.com or proverbmusic.net. Otherwise, I'm on the social platforms. Twitter at proverbmusic, Instagram at proverbmusic. On Facebook, it's /proverbmusic. Otherwise, you can also hit me up on my direct line, which is 083 proverb.
All right, dope. Oh, give me the number like Ryan Leslie, huh?
Yeah. Hey, look, man, for bookings, invites, interviews, anything, I manage myself. I am my business.
All right,
and it's a direct line.
Dope. That's a good look. I respect that. So there you go, guys. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and don't forget rate and review on iTunes. We need those reviews. And on that note, We're out. Don't forget to zip it up and zip it out. We're gone.
We broke.
It's the switch up, baby.
Man, what happened to rap? Look. Man, what happened to rap? Man, these rappers so typical. I drop a smash record. All these rappers so minuscule. It's funny how they compare me to niggas who've hit their pinnacle. And if I don't buy my mom a house this year, I'm going cynical. I don't need publicity, cause Eagle got the recipe. All I used to score was A's back in high school. Don't be testing me. Back when I was growing up, gang signs they was throwing up. But rappers say they in the game, and I don't see them showing up. Went from blowing trees to being on joints with OGs. But I'm connected to this money like my paper Siamese. Yeah. And I make these niggas grab a hearse. And when I'm on a feature, make these niggas change their verse. Goddamn. Man, what happened to rap? Yeah. Man, what happened to rap? Said, what happened to rap? Hip hop used to drop bars, and now we just dab.
It's now or never. Never. It's time to change the game.
Verb, yo. Whatever happened to clever rapping, the heads is asking. Now instead of passion, level is trash to get the cash in. Question I'm asking, did it die with the veterans back then? Or does it live, residing inside irrelevant has-beens like the proverb dude? But I know the truth, that's why I jump in the vocal booth to show the youth how to mold the truth into multiple quotables, but soul in the food, using flow as a tool. Heads enrolled in my school, I show and I prove just how the oldest dude is still the coldest too. Damn. And I did it so comfortably. My scriptures are humble pieces, rumble in the jungle steeds. There's no denying that I bury it 100 feet, and the level is higher once the DJ switch to ganja beats. Aish, but they turning up and they turning up. Nothing wrong with that, but their songs is whack and we're learning what. Hands have gone higher. If like me you've heard enough, man, we should build a bonfire of all their tracks and burn them up.
It's now or never. Never. It's time to change the game.
Check. Man, what happened to rap? Yeah. Man, what happened to rap?
Forget it now or never, it's now or forever, forever and ever. They feel the presence every year like the month of December. To make sure you don't forget, I got much to remember. Only because I give a F like I'm Juju Malema. To you who enter with new perceptions, choose your dilemmas. Do what you do, how you do it, or just do what the rest does. Either way, know you going toe to toe with the questers, the X's and X's. Just you keeping up with the Kardashians. The birth of greatness, so feel the contractions. Exceeded all expectations by a certain percentage, and still earn the respect I deserve, and I get the real deal. Surrounded by plastic like a Jordan 11. Original copy for now and forever. You duplicates should copy me now or whenever. Then we'll all be one and the same like Euphonic and Timber. The difference is I'm driven cause I know it's now or never.
It's now or never. Never. It's time to change the game.
First off, fuck the deep voice. I got actual raps. Yo, what's your invoice? Skinny Negro that she might wanna feel on. She fucking with the music. I put my Celine Dion on her. Off the leash, yo. I'm on beast smoke. I got the whole city jack. The new Nino. They got a dethrone. Still I'm a king though. I'm keyboard niggas come around just to see notes. I eat off words. Be your crumbs don't serve me. Yo, tweet like birdies. Yo, thumbs don't skirt me. So please, y'all better be done early, or else I put a hole in one. Ernie, so bang bang or putt. There's a reason why my proverbs stay high as eagles. Ngumpetha. So when tekla mawufanya ayempintu sanukushawa nangetie guest member. Now or never.
Check. Man, what happened to rap? Yeah. Man, what happened to rap? Said what happened to rap? Hip hop used to drop bars, and now it's just that.
We broke.